Recreational marijuana has been legal in Ohio since December after voters passed Issue 2. But while it's no longer against state law to possess, grow, or use marijuana, there's no place in Ohio to buy it legally. That's about to change with sales at existing medical marijuana dispensaries set to begin in the next few weeks and other sites later on. But there are still a lot of questions about what the rules are surrounding legal pot. I talked with Tom Haren, the spokesperson for the Issue 2 campaign, who is now representing the adult use cannabis industry in Ohio.
The timeline that the state is using is such that the applications aren't necessarily due for the new dispensaries, what we call the 10B licenses, until Friday of next week. The application period opens this Friday. And so this Friday, every existing medical license holder will be able to apply to convert their existing medical license to dual use, as well as to begin the application process for these new dispensary licenses that will be popping up throughout the state of Ohio over the next year or so. As far as when will sales begin, it sort of depends on how quickly the Division of Cannabis Control processes these applications and how quickly the license holders themselves are able to begin selling to Ohio adults. You know, some licensees may want to take some more time to do modifications at their site or to make some changes. Others will be ready closer to the first day that they're able to start selling. So it'll be a little bit of a rolling process.
What will be the difference between medical marijuana sales as they are right now and what recreational sales will be like, besides there won't be a need for people to get that medical marijuana card?
Yeah, for the first several months, there's not going to be much of a difference, quite frankly. The products that will be sold in dispensaries to adults will be the same types of products that are sold under the existing medical marijuana program. The dispensaries themselves will continue to look like medical marijuana dispensaries. The processes and procedures that these dispensaries use will be a lot like the processes and procedures that they use within the medical program. A lot of the regulatory framework will still match a lot from the medical marijuana program. So for the first several months, it's really going to be, existing medical dispensaries selling the same types of medical marijuana products. It'll just be that every adult who's older than 21 will have an ability to buy them.
Obviously, you brought Issue 2 to voters, so you're probably some experience in figuring out what the interest is going to be like. What do you expect to see?
Look, as we said for a long time, I think Ohioans are excited about the opportunity to no longer have to buy cannabis products from an illicit market drug dealer. I think they're excited about not having to drive to Michigan and generate tax revenue in that state up north. I think there's a lot of interest for medical patients that were not able to access the medical marijuana program for one reason or another. Now that barrier will come down. So, we expect that there will be a lot of interest, but I don't think you're going to have a lot of brand new cannabis consumers, right? This is going to be transitioning folks from the illicit market, transitioning folks from buying in Michigan, who now we're bringing into a regulated, taxed, tested adult use program.
So while we saw lines when medical marijuana started sales in Ohio, do you expect to see lines with recreational marijuana sales when those sales begin?
Look, there might be lines at some dispensaries throughout the state. To the extent there are lines, I don't expect that to be a long-lived phenomenon, right? As more and more of these dispensaries begin converting from medical only to dual use, the choices that consumers have will continue to grow and supply will continue to ramp up to ensure that the regulated program is meeting consumer demand.
The rules for recreational marijuana are as they were in Issue 2. There's no specific ban on public smoking. Home grow is permitted for up to 12 plants per household. There's a 10% tax with that money going to social equity and jobs programs, education and treatment for addiction, and also administrative costs. But all of that could change. The Senate passed a bill that would raise the tax and change where it goes cut home grow to 6 plants, and ban public smoking. Are you concerned about changes that the legislature might make versus what voters approved? Are you working with lawmakers in some of those changes?
Well, to be clear, the language in the existing statute does include a ban on public consumption of marijuana. So that's already done. Right now, what we're focused on is working with the division to roll out the adult use program in accordance with the initiated statute. And the division has, quite frankly, moved heaven and earth to get us to this point. I mean, we're ahead of schedule from the deadlines that were laid out within the initiated statute. The staff at the division has been working tirelessly to ensure that we can provide a quick alternative to the unregulated market to Ohio consumers. So that's where the focus is, right? It's on rolling out what the voters passed, and the division's done a really good job of that over the last several months.
Are you concerned at all, though, about changing that midstream, so to speak, that the rules that maybe Ohioans will see now might change? Are you concerned about that at all?
Well, I think what people will find as the rules continue to be developed is that the current statute gives broad rulemaking authority to the Division of Cannabis Control. And they're using that authority, right? They're using that authority to ensure that there are rules about packaging, about labeling, about not marketing to children, about, safety procedures and safety rules and operational requirements and security requirements at all of these adult use locations. So I think what you'll see is, like we saw when the medical program rolled out, people had a lot of questions until they saw how the regulators were going to regulate the program itself.
Around 50 cities and townships have banned marijuana businesses, including many suburbs around Cleveland and Cincinnati. Does that concern you at all?
It is concerning, because what that means is that those cities will not have the opportunity to take advantage of the new tax revenue that will be generated under the adult use program. It means that people who live in those communities will still use adult use cannabis products. They just will have to go to another town and generate tax revenue in that town when they make their purchases. The data has been pretty clear. When a legal, regulated cannabis business opens in a community, property values go up, tax revenue gets generated. Areas around that cannabis business generate more economic development because these facilities are under 24/7 video surveillance. They're well lit. They're secure facilities. These are the exact types of businesses that other businesses want to be around because they're safer than in some other areas. And, we did see a similar phenomenon when the medical program began. A lot of communities passed these moratoriums, but then as subsequent licensing rounds happened, they looked around the state and said, oh, it actually hasn't been a problem at all in those other communities. So we should rescind our moratorium, and we should be open to welcoming, at the time, medical marijuana dispensaries to their communities. I think the same phenomenon will happen within the adult use program.
One substance that's been legal all along is Delta-8, or intoxicating hemp, which is not affected by laws on marijuana and which Governor Mike DeWine has asked lawmakers 3 times to ban. So far, no bills have been proposed by state lawmakers to do that. But a federal ban on Delta-8 has been included in the 2024 Farm Bill.